Hello guys, it's Cassidy and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Holly Jackson reading vlog. As you can tell by the title, I will be reading Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson in this vlog. I'm super excited about this. I have done reading vlogs for a lot of Holly Jackson's releases. I think all of them except for the disappearance of Rachel Price. I filmed one and then at the time I was really bad at posting. By the time I got back in the swing of things, I felt like it was kind of irrelevant. I think I deleted it and I'm kind of regretting it now, but if I deleted it, there's not really much I can do. But this is Holly Jackson's newest release. It was supposed to come out on I believe it was supposed to come out on the 29th of July. However, I pre-ordered this and so I got an email saying it was coming out a week early. So it actually came out, at least in Canada, it came out on July 22nd. So I picked this up as soon as I got the email that it was in. I always just buy Holly Jackson's books, and so I didn't actually remember what this is about, or I don't even know if I ever read the blurb. And it's an adult book, which all of her books are YA up to this point. When I opened this, I was confused because I was like, why is this so big? And it's also $37 in Canada. Luckily, I pre-ordered it when I had because I used to work at Indigo, so when I had my employee discount, I pre-ordered it. And I'm so thankful I did because $37 is absolutely insane. It's obviously an adult-sized hardcover. I just assumed it was young adult like everything else. Her first adult release, so I'm excited, but I'm also kind of nervous. Not that it should be that different, but who knows. This one also has a fun hardcover. I can't think of what this material is called, but this side has a person on as the 7, and this one just has the lines. But I like the bright, kind of like I don't know, vinyl looking. I don't know if that's actually the right word, but I'm not trying to look too far into what this one's about, but I know we follow Jet Mason, and I think she's kind of comes from a wealthy family. This is what the inside end pages look like. And she is attacked on Halloween night, and due to her injury, she's kind of given about like a week to live, as they think she's gonna have an aneurysm, which I think is part of the brain theme in here. So her and her best friend Billy are determined to solve her what's gonna be murder before she dies. So I think that's a really interesting concept and I'm super excited for it, like I keep saying. So I'm gonna start reading it tonight, I think. I won't be reading it as fast as I thought I was going to. It's about 380 pages, but I thought it was gonna be a YA 380 pages, but it's not. That's okay. But it's just going to take me a little bit longer to read. But I wanted to get this vlog started so I can start reading. I'll give you my non-spoiler thoughts throughout this vlog, and then at the end I'll give you a non-spoiler review, and at the very end I'll give you my spoiler thoughts and review. Does that make sense? I'll put chapter marks as well in here so you can tell when the spoilers are starting, ending, whatever, if you don't want to see any of them. I'm excited. Let's just get reading. It's been 2 days, I think. When I started this vlog, that day I read about 8 pages. That was it. And then yesterday I got to page 101. So I thought I would come and give you an update, probably like every 100 pages. It was kind of perfect timing because it became a new day. So it is November 4th. She gets attacked on the 31st, but she doesn't wake up until the 2nd. So we flash from the 31st, nighttime on the 31st to midday of the 2nd. I don't have a ton of thoughts. I'm enjoying it so far. I think my main thing that I have to say to you guys, the only reason so far that this had to be an adult is because she, with her injury, she technically has the choice to get a surgery. She gets attacked, hit in the head 3 times, and during one of those, part of the bone is like turned in, I guess, and gonna cause a brain aneurysm. But technically they could go in there and try and fix that. However, the surgery, I think it's surgery, and because she has pre-existing medical issues with her kidneys, it's just a really high risk surgery. So she has a less than 10% chance of surviving. So she has the choice to get that surgery or just kind of let the aneurysm happen, and she'll die in approximately a week if they had to guess. So the only reason it's an adult book, I think, is because she needs to be able to make that choice herself, because her mom is like, please get the surgery, but she's 27, I think, and so she has to make this choice herself, and she decides not to have the surgery because it, in her mind, it's like die now or die in 7 days. Okay, I'm gonna choose 7 days, and she can't have the surgery once the aneurysm starts to develop, I guess. I'm sorry if the medical stuff is a little bit wrong. I'm no doctor. So she has to make that choice like that day. She wakes up and they're basically, make this choice now. But her mom's still begging that she chooses the surgery, and so she chooses not to get it. And I literally think that's the only reason that this is not YA at this point. Like, her injuries are kind of brutal, but I feel like I've heard very brutal injuries in YA books, so I don't think that has anything to do it. And again, maybe that more will come that makes it a little bit darker, that it can't be YA. But right now, they could have made her 18, honestly, I guess. But right now, what it's giving is the only reason this is an adult book is so she can make this medical decision for herself and not have her parents make it for her, which is like a main plot point of this book, is that she's dying, so she needs to solve her own murder before then. So as it says in the synopsis, her childhood friend Billy is now helping her out. Her and her mom don't really get along all that well, and it's no different once all this news happens. And her mom is very dramatic. So they kind of get fighting, and so Jet ends up leaving and is staying with Billy now. She is working with the police, which is interesting. The police aren't super working with her, but she has an in at the police because Billy's dad is a police officer, so he kind of tells her stuff. She's also kind of guilt tripping people by being like, well, I'm gonna die in 7 days anyway, so you might as well just tell me. And people are going for that. So I am enjoying it so far. It's an easy, quick read for the most part. So I'm gonna read another 100 pages today, and I will let you know what I'm thinking once I get to the 200 page mark. But it's good so far. There's a chapter break at 2:04, so that's probably where I will update you. I don't think I have any theories as of yet who it is. There's the theory of who the police think it is, because pretty much all the evidence is pointing towards this one guy, but I think that's going to be too obvious, so it's not going to be him. I have one theory, but I think it already is debunked, but I don't know that for sure. So if it is this person, I end up saying I figured out it pretty early on. It's not like there's really clues for it. I just have a feeling of who it is. But yeah, so far so good. We're doing good. So let me get to reading. It is a few hours later and I am on page 205 now. I don't have a ton of thoughts. I do have a new theory of who it was, but it's kind of a broad theory because there's not a ton pointing to them, but it's a gut feeling. The original theory, I think it's been debunked because it's been brought up already, and not that that means it can't happen, but it's been pretty explored that usually that's not going to happen because they want it to be a twist at the end of the book, you know? I don't think it's my original theory, but basically right after I talked to you, I had this new theory, and that's what I'm sticking with for now, at least. One thing that I find interesting about characters in general, I feel like a lot of female main characters fall into this where the line is very thin between them being snarky and just like funny, and like, yeah, you go girl, we love a sarcastic queen who stands up for herself, and snarky and like mean to people. And I think this main character, Jet, is on both sides of the line. Sometimes she's funny, she makes lots of jokes about how she's like about death and how she's dying and stuff, and that like the sarcasticness of that and snarkiness of how she talks to people about that is funny. But even before she was attacked, and then a few times in the last 100 pages, she's just been like rude to people. So I don't love that. It doesn't make her, those moments I'm like, ugh, I'm not really rooting for her. So I think it's just hard sometimes for people to write characters like that without going over the line and pushing it to being the character being rude. And yeah, she's going through a lot with finding out that she's gonna die and like trying to solve her murder, but that's why I mentioned before even she got attacked, she was kind of rude to people. This isn't really a spoiler, I guess. One of the times she was rude to and like kind of making fun of a construction worker, he was literally just like living his life. Like there was no reason she needed to make these comments to him. He wasn't doubting her, he wasn't getting in her way. So yeah, that would be one thing that I would say, but I feel like lots of characters and lots of authors fall into that and struggle with that. So I was thinking about that with Jet specifically, and then I was kind of thinking about other books and why sometimes I have a problem with characters who are like this. While it can be done right, and it is sometimes, it can also be done quite wrong, I guess, or like not achieve what they're looking for, I guess we could say. In that 100 pages, there's also feeling more real of the inevitability of her dying. And so that's like kind of a dark thing just kind of there all the time throughout this, and it is making me feel some type of way. So it's, I don't know, that's probably one of the goals of this book, and so it's definitely hitting that. So I'm enjoying it. I feel like a lot of it is making sense so far as well. Like none of it is super unbelievable. I guess we will see with the twist. I'm enjoying it. So I will hopefully read 100 pages tomorrow. I don't know, I will have a little bit less time tomorrow, so I might slow down a little bit in my reading. But since it's the weekend, I have a little bit extra time right now, but I'm gonna do some other stuff, and then maybe I'll come back to it tonight before I go to bed. I'm not too sure, but so far, it's really good. I'm enjoying it. Still don't overly feel like it had to be an adult book. There's more swearing in it, I guess. But I do wonder also if the inevitability of her dying is something that maybe pushed it to adult, if that makes sense. I don't know. Not that people can't die in YAs, obviously, but I'm just wondering if they felt like it was a little bit more of a adult concept, I guess. I just finished this. I need to think about it. It's either going to be a 4 or a 5 star. I just need to think about it, and I need to maybe read some reviews, and then I'll gather my thoughts and probably write some stuff down so I can give you coherent and thoughts that make sense is what I'm trying to say. So I will be back soon to talk to you about it. Okay guys, I think it's been like a week since I finished Not Quite Dead Yet, but I'm here for my thoughts. I'm gonna start with my non-spoiler thoughts, so then you can click out of this video if you don't want the spoilers. I'll give you a warning when I start my spoiler thoughts, but I decided I'm gonna give this a 4-star rating because for me, I've said this before, 5 stars just really feel like a feeling. There isn't much criteria wise that brings a 4-star up to a 5-star for me. It just feels more like a 5-star, then I give it a 5-star. But this one doesn't. It does have a few things that I think just brings it down as well. So I decided on a 4-star rating overall, but I did enjoy this one. I just sat and read some reviews to kind of jog my memory of maybe things that I didn't like, or things that I did really like, and I feel confident in my 4-star rating. I loved this premise. Such a good idea that Jet has to solve her own murder, or she doesn't have to, but she wants to in order to kind of finish something she started. Jet faces a lot of not doing that, I guess. She constantly quits things, and she just wants this to be her one final thing before she dies, that she actually completes something. I just really enjoyed this countdown premise, I guess, and being forced to solve her own murder because she feels like the police are going in the wrong way, which of course they are. Like, police, especially in books, never are going in the right direction. Unless your main character is the police, then of course they figure it out, but when our main character is not a detective, they're usually the ones to figure it out. Main bullet points about this book: this 1000% did not need to be an adult book. This is a YA story trapped in an adult book. I mentioned this throughout my video. The only thing that I think is the reason she's 27 years old is so she's allowed to make this surgery decision for herself versus her parents making it for her. And yes, she could have been 18 to do that, but, or I guess I have two reasons. There's that, and timeline-wise. However, the timeline could have been shortened up and it would have been fine. She did not need to make this a adult thriller, and I'm very curious on why she did that, or why maybe the publisher wanted her to do that. I think that brings it down a bit because the character is less likable as a 27-year-old. Because Jet acting like this at 27 years old, kind of crazy. Some of it makes sense, and some of it I give her leeway because, of course, you don't know how you're gonna react when you are given the news that you have like 7 days to live and it's inevitable that you are going to die. And there's gonna be coping mechanisms and defense mechanisms of that, which is what we see a lot with Jet, with her humor, but also with her kind of attacking people who don't need to be attacked, which you guys know was something that I didn't really love throughout this book. Like, be mean to the people that deserve it. Sophia, be mean to her all you want. I hate that chick. Her mom, be mean to her all you want. That makes sense. Random construction worker, don't really need to be mean to him. He's not doing anything to you. He's not stopping you from solving this murder either. So her personality was not the best. I don't really know why Billy loved her unless he was just still in love with a like a 12-year-old version of them together, not him being a creep, but like he didn't know her throughout her teens and he barely knew her through her adulthood. because they drifted apart. So I think he's in love with like the idea of who she was when she was younger, and that's just like not who she is at all anymore. The characters in this, there was like barely any likable ones, and I don't feel like I need to like a lot of characters in thrillers. That's not really a requirement for me. There's just some characters I really didn't want to read about anymore because they were so awful, and I'm just like Sophia, like I mentioned, Jet's mom, I can't think of what her name is, awful. Luke, her brother, awful as well, but his was a little bit more interesting and needed in the plot. Her mom was just mean to be mean and hypercritical to be hypercritical. Sophia was also just awful to be awful. Her actions and stuff don't even fully get explored, and I wish there was more of a roundup with that and she gets in trouble for more of her actions, but we don't see that in the book. But I would have liked to see her get some type of repercussions for her actions. Also with Jet, I think something that maybe Holly Jackson did in order to age this up was our Jet swore like all the time, and I just personally, I don't care if you swear, but I hate when people are just swearing constantly for literally no reason. I don't really find that funny, and I don't really like, I don't know, I feel like there's a fine line where it's funny and it's needed and it works versus someone's just trying to sound cool and they think swearing is hilarious, like a child thinks swearing is hilarious. If that makes sense. Like, I'm not a prude and I don't care about swearing. It just does not need to be as often as it was in this for literally no reason. I don't need to read the F word so often. And then yeah, I guess I'd just say like this was weird because there was so many, the timeline was so fast because it was written over like a week, and that allowed it to be a little bit more fast paced because she needed to figure this stuff out ASAP. And so she was working all night, all day to figure this out, which allowed the developments to happen a little bit faster. But also there was parts in this that dragged. Oh, also I hated the music part of this. Sorry, that was cringy. I don't like reading a song because I don't know the melody of that song. How am I supposed to know what that song sounds like when you just write out the lyrics? Maybe that's just me, but I hate when people just write a song in a book. That's so weird to me. I don't know. That was a part where it dragged for me. And yeah, there was other parts where I was just like, okay, we don't need to hear every word in this conversation. Just wrap it up. It's so much easier to talk about things you don't like in books, I feel like. But so sometimes it make it sound like I really didn't like books by when I'm talking about them, because I can point out all the things I didn't like. But there were lots of stuff in this that I did like, and parts of Jet that I did like. She just wasn't the best. I liked the red herrings in this. I thought she did a really good job of making you think other things, even though I did guess the killer kind of at really close to the beginning. There were times where I questioned myself, and I did think it could be other people, so she did a really good job with that as well. I don't know, I feel like some of the stuff I like is spoilers, so I can't really tell you guys in the non-spoilery part. But this idea was a really good idea, just not perfect execution, but really good execution in my opinion. Could have been a YA. Kind of feels like a money grab that it was adult, because you automatically just get to price it $10 more expensive, at least in Canada. It's kind of insane. So like this frankly, no offense, but this does not need to be $37. Just my opinion. But that's my thoughts on Not Quite Dead Yet non-spoiler edition. So continue watching if you want to hear spoilers, but if you don't, you have been warned. We are now going into the spoiler part of the video. You have now entered the spoiler part of the video, so if you do not click off, you cannot complain to me that I spoiled anything for you. Okay, the biggest positive of this book is that the dog, Reggie, I think was the name, does not die in this book. As soon as a dog is mentioned, I'm always scared they're gonna die in a mystery. And a dog has died in a Holly Jackson book before, and that ruined me, and that made me want to rate the book lower because it was like really not needed for that dog to die. And if the dog died in this one, I would have been so mad because it didn't need to. But thankfully it didn't. It maybe would have made me DNF her book because why do you need to kill off dogs? It's almost, I'm gonna say 99% of the time, it's not needed. Okay, but it didn't, so it's a positive that she did not do that. I did kind of tear up when Jet ends up dying. It's hard because I don't love the convenience of suddenly someone survives. I just read this in, what book was it? Oh, I don't want to spoil it, but in one book I read recently, they make it seem like this one character dies, and then there's a big chunk of the book still. And in the last chapter or two, when they're kind of resolving everything and closing it out, they're like, actually they live. They've been in a coma for this amount of time. They survived. I don't want that either. But it does suck when your main character dies. It's kind of a hard balance because it's sad, it sucks, and you're like, oh, it's kind of waiting for a miracle, but also the miracles kind of suck. I don't want this convenience to happen all the time, and they made it seem like it was absolutely impossible in this situation, so it would have been crazy if she survived. But I did like how Holly Jackson wrote about Jet thinking that maybe there was this tiny possibility that somehow there was a miracle that she would survive. That she was holding on to this hope, but then she finally lost it. I can't remember what it was. Maybe when she lost the feeling in her arm, and it felt like a bit more, she could see this happening. I can't remember when that was, but I liked how Holly Jackson wrote that into it because I think that's how maybe the readers were thinking it may go, because that is common in mysteries and thrillers. So I did tear up when she died because I was not expecting it. I thought she was gonna solve it, and I kind of do wish she solved it and then like died right after. Like if she's gonna die, I wanted her to solve it. And they were like really close, and I feel like she could have in that amount of time. And I'm not really sure how she didn't. I mean, obviously solving a murder is hard, but I guessed who it was very early on in the book, but I did go through a little bit of questioning myself, so she did do a good job with that. So let's go through my roller coaster, I guess, of who I thought did it and whatever. There was times where I questioned Luke and Jet's sister-in-law, Sophia, but Sophia just ended up being an awful person and basically was trying to kill their dad by giving him salt. That is insane to me, and I do wish she got some repercussions on paper. Yeah, Jet told Luke, but I don't think Luke's gonna tell anyone, and that the dad just now needs a transplant, which isn't super easy to get, and his health has just been declining for months, and will he ever find out why? I don't know. So I wish she would have gotten in trouble on page because she's cuckoo bananas, and I don't even care that it would leave their child without a parent around. The grandparents can take care of that child because its parents are crazy anyway. So will it really do well with two unstable parents? I don't know. Not that the grandma is that much better, but I did question her for a while because there were clues towards that, but really the clues were towards her basically poisoning her father-in-law. For a second there, I did question Billy because of his convenience of being near her house when he doesn't live there anymore. And I did think that would be absolutely insane if it was him. And then when she finds like the toolkit at his house and it points to being him, I was shocked and I was like, oh my god, it's actually him. Obviously it wasn't him. I figured it possibly, My main two suspects for majority of the book were the two police. So Luke, Luke's dad. I was gonna say not Luke's dad, but it is Luke's dad. But I meant to say Billy's dad. I think his name is Jack. But then also the new police chief, but I can't think of what his name is. So I did think it could be either of them. The reason I thought maybe the chief is because his wife said that he had lived in their town years ago, and so I thought maybe he would have some connections or hatred for Jet's parents, or some type of situation with that led to him trying to murder Jet. But then I also thought it was Jack very early on because of his close proximity. When she does talk to him, he says something about how he was still over dropping off that drunk guy at his house. And I'm like, how long does that really take? I questioned it, and the way he said it felt a little to me. When he told Jet about the hair that transferred, I was quite sure it was him or they thought it came from the guy he took home. I can't think of his name either. There's so many characters in this book. And I'm like, why is no one questioning the fact that it could have transferred onto him and he could have accidentally planted it at the scene? They were only thinking it could come from him, or they were saying how, well, I guess why they didn't question it, because he's police, so the police were not questioning it, and Jet could never think that he would have killed her. But it felt so clear to me because they were like, oh, it could have transferred from this person to this person or whatever, but they never thought it could have transferred from him when he escorted someone home. I don't know. That was my glaring, like, oh, it was him. I was quite sure it was him, but I did follow the roller coaster of maybe it could be these other people, but it was almost always him. And the fact that they went into the possibility of it being Sophia and Luke so early on in the book, I knew it wasn't them, because she was not going to bring up the actual murderer as a suspect from the beginning. That just doesn't usually work. I hope that makes sense. I don't know. I feel like it didn't. So then, yeah, once Jet died, that ending chapter or two, I don't know, after she died, that was crazy rushed to me. And so I don't know why she couldn't have figured that out before she died. I don't know why they couldn't have done that, because they do look at Billy's mom's one agenda or one plan or whatever notebook it was. I don't know why they didn't dive into those more when they thought it was pointing certain ways. I just think you would not just look at one, but look at a bunch of them. But maybe that's just me. I truly just think that they could have done more detective work, because she still had a day or two, she died a day or two early, I think, but I could be wrong. Or they could have been a little bit closer before she died, because we didn't see any of Billy doing the detective work after she died. It was just she died, flash forward, whatever, however long, he figured out and he's confronting his dad. I also don't really like those kind of endings most of the time, where they just confront the bad guy and tell the bad guy their whole story from start to finish, as if the bad guy doesn't know every detail. And obviously in this situation they needed to say every detail because Jack wasn't gonna admit to it, but also because Luke was overhearing and he needed to hear every detail. I just don't really love the monologues like that in general. I just wish Jet got to figure out who killed her, because she never finishes anything she started. I feel like it would have been a better way to full circle everything, where she actually finally does figure out this one thing and does finish what she started. Holly Jackson could have done it she figured it out but she couldn't confront him. She dies right before she tries to confront him. So then it's a day or two before Billy confronts him or something. I just think it would have been a better character, full circle character arc, whatever you want to call it, moment for Jet if she got to figure it out. And obviously maybe that's convenient timing, but that would have maybe been a more convenient timing that I'm okay with, I guess. And then because of that and everything that follows that, like Billy or Luke killing him, he's running out of the house. Jack's running out of the house and Luke kills him basically in front of everyone outside of the door. I was shocked because I don't know if you'll be able to see this on the time lapse that I did when I'm reading the ending of this book, but Jack runs out of the house, right? And he's running across the street to Jet's family's house where the funeral, like, after part is being held. And they say that Jet's mom is coming to answer the door to let him in. One, I don't know why the door was locked. Like, you don't really lock the door at, like, a funeral reception, I don't think, but I don't know. One, the door was locked, but then the mom comes to answer the door and unlock the door, and I thought she was accidentally gonna get shot. So I was like, oh my god, but then they just killed Jack. I don't like that. I think Holly Jackson has a tendency to do that a lot in her books. A lot of people don't actually get held accountable, and that's even what I mean with Sophia. And then Luke, we don't actually see on page how he gets held accountable for the tons and tons and tons of things that he's done wrong. We don't know actually what happens to him. Obviously he kills Jack, so he's gonna go to jail, but we just see no accountability on page. And then Sophia, we don't see that. And then really, I don't love the bad guy getting killed. I would rather, in most situations, I would rather the bad guy end up in jail and rotting in jail for the rest of their life. Obviously, there's debate with that in real life, but let's just talk in books here. Personally, I'd rather that because I just know that that would be really miserable for most people. Personal preference, I wish he just would have gotten arrested and put in jail. And same with Luke, and then Sophia gets some type of repercussions. I don't know what could have happened with her, but she should have gotten in some type of trouble. And I wish that Jet's dad would know what was happening to him, because he felt so much guilt with this disease and passing that disease on to Jet, and he was in such denial with what was happening to him. I wish he just would have known that, like, it wasn't really his fault, and it wasn't really even totally his body's fault. Yeah, his body can't function quite properly, but it was being pushed a lot worse because of Sophia's actions and her being crazy. So I don't know, I just liked Jet's dad, so I didn't want him to feel this guilt. But yeah, I think those are all of my non-spoiler and then spoiler thoughts on this book. Overall, I enjoyed it. There were some highs and lows. It was fast and it was slow. Didn't really mean to rhyme that much, but I enjoyed it. So let me know if you've read this one, what you thought of it. If you're doing any spoilers, maybe just do a spoiler warning in the comments. But I always enjoy reading everyone's comments with specifically Holly Jackson books, because that's what I've done these vlogs for previously. It's interesting to see how everyone views her writing. I don't know what I would rank her books, but this wouldn't be one of my favorites, I don't think. But I haven't rated any of Holly Jackson's books really low at all. So I always pick her books up, almost always do a vlog for them. So I will link those other ones down below that I've done. I don't remember how many I've done, 3 or 4. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and give it a big thumbs up. Both those mean the absolute world to me. Comment down below if there's any other authors or books that you want me to do like these specific vlogs for. I do enjoy doing them. I just don't know how popular they actually would be, but I know these Holly Jackson ones usually are. I still get comments on ones that I posted like 2-3 years ago, so I know people are still looking for them. I think that's everything from me, so thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!